Welcome to Bespoke Unit, and we'll be drinking Jim Beam Double Oak. Hello and welcome everybody to another review here at Bespoke Unit. My name is Reinhard and I am delighted and very much looking forward to sampling Jim Beam's Double Oak twice barreled Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey together with all of you. Jim Beam Double Oak is an interesting premium quality from the old trusted Jim Beam company, and with a slightly elevated presentation, a slightly different maturation process, Jim Beam is actually taking their traditional white label to the next level, offering this rendition that proudly states on the label it's twice barreled, hence the name Double Oak, which means that after the traditional maturation process of 4 years in charred new white oak barrels from the United States, the juice, the liquid, is then transferred into new charred white oak barrels yet again and aged further in order to give more richness, more depth, a bit more spice, but in general just more character and a very smooth and woody but still pleasantly charming overall experience. When it comes to the overall presentation of the bottle, you will immediately recognize that in contrast to the slender, taller, traditional white label, the Double Oak is actually a short, robust and rather fat bottle, still carrying some of the iconic forms and label design that you would find with Jim Beam normally. I like the colors here where you have sort of a gold copper melange with the writing, that beautiful dark blue color they chose for the label, and you will also find plenty of information regarding the quality and the legacy of the Jim Beam family and brand right here on the bottle. Now, let's pour a glass of our trusted liquid here, and let's get right to it in terms of smelling and tasting. Before I forget, as always, we're using Bespoke Unit's Liquor Formula, which is a quantifiable review matrix that you can use for all your own tasting purposes. For those who are curious, you can jump right to the tasting notes, you can jump right to the Liquor Formula and see the score for this juice and the spirit. Instead of watching the entire video, you can find the filled out form as well as a blank copy of the formula underneath the video that you can use for all your tastings. So back to the liquid. Golden brown, slight copper glance here. Plenty of viscosity. The alcohol content here is actually 43% or 86 proof in the United States. A beautiful, very woody, charred, fresh white oak sensation right up front. So the promise from the label and from the storytelling and marketing fluff is very present and very prominent right here in the nose. I get a lot of vanilla caramel, but not the typical plain upfront sweetness that you would expect, but much rather a charred, darkly roasted, and almost dry ash that just elevates that vanilla sweetness and that vanilla cream, takes it to a new level, gives it a bit more depth, a bit more spice even. Speaking of spice, I also get some pink peppercorns. I get a little bit of clove and nutmeg, all mingled in with a mellow fruitiness that reminds me of a baked apple, also some of the baking spice that you would associate with that, some marzipan towards the very end, and a little bit of burnt caramel, a very dark caramel that's gone too far. Interesting nose here. Let's take a sip. Whereas with other traditional bourbons, you're expecting a lot of sweetness up front. Here I get a rather dry sensation on the palate right away. Almost like a charred ash. I mentioned it with the olfactory sensation, but it's also prominent on the palate right here, where it feels drying, it feels crisp, it feels mineral with almost a salty twist. I get a little bit of a bitter quality on the edges of the tongue, a mouth coating, mellow but rather woody spice. And overall, it's a rather balanced experience. The alcohol is beautifully woven in. It all feels smooth and creamy. A distinct, elegant, dry woodiness to truly shine both on the olfactory and also the gustatory sensation. So the message and the storytelling, in my opinion, beautifully translates into the sensory experience once you have the liquid in your glass. And this makes this a superb Kentucky bourbon whiskey to sip straight, have it neat in a nosing glass like the one I'm using here, or you could pour it over ice if that's your preferred way of serving your bourbon whiskeys. And most definitely, it's a promising ingredient for old fashions, Manhattans. I'd probably stay away from overly fancy drinks with plenty of juices and syrups, but rather focus on clean, minimalistic, elegant serves where the spirit can really shine. When it comes to pairing recommendations, there is a very traditional, typical Austrian sweet made of coconut cream, and a little bit of bitter chocolate underneath. It's like a coconut dome. And this for me is just a wonderful combination, because that coconut sweetness and the mellowness that you would typically associate also with American white oak, it just beautifully counterbalances some of the dryness, some of the astringency, and that charred woodiness from the double oak here. So that's a match made in heaven. I also paired this with a characterful, spicy cigar with a dark wrapper. I went for Rocky Patel's Vintage 92, which is an old, trusted, everyday smoke that you should definitely have in your rotation as well. It brings a lot of elegance and a lot of creaminess and mellowness to the table as well. So not just a superbly spicy, darkly roasted Maduro cigar, but really like the double oak, more in a subdued, elegant, and harmonious fashion overall. I mentioned before that I really like the presentation here. On top, what's interesting, the double oak comes with a plastic screw cap, which for me is perfectly fine because it's easy to handle, it's easy to store, and you're not running risk of having any funky smells from a cork gone off. To some people it might be slightly off-putting because you prefer a natural cork on your high quality spirits, but that's truly a personal preference and up to you to decide. I like it as it is. It's a great bottle to hold in hand and pour, which is important for bartenders. So it's very easy to work with. And again, sort of underlines the versatility of the product for many different occasions. The double oak could be an excellent choice. It's also great value for money because this will be roughly around 20 euros or dollars, so slightly above, depending on where you are in the world. So it's definitely an everyday treat and not a super expensive bottle. You can find all our spirits reviews, you can find all sorts of spirits guide and our favorite bourbon cocktails on the Bespoke Unit website. So before we wrap things off, let's give it another sip, see where we are here. There's quite a bit of evolution there. I would say in terms of complexity, it's a medium plus, as well as lengthwise. The finish is carried by the wood spice and by that dry, smoky sensation, whereas some of the fruit and mellow sweetness just comes back ever so slightly before the whiskey fades into its gentle finish. It's a great everyday whiskey that's definitely a notch above your standard pouring bourbon, but because of its versatility, its very affordable price point, and the overall elegant presentation, this is a liquid, a spirit that you should check out and probably add to your home bar. That's it for today. I wish you all a wonderful tasting experience. Mix up some fabulous cocktails or long drinks with the Jim Beam Double Oak, and stay safe and healthy until we see each other again here for another Spirits Review. With my very best wishes and spirits.